And we're live this week on Choosing Us.
Here we go.
Let's go. We have one camera today. I lent out my other camera
Love it.
to my nephew.
There you go.
My nephew, he's been doing really, really well, actually, with photography. He decided he wanted to give it a shot. He's in high school, and he's actually pretty good. And so they decided for spring break to go to Texas for the solar eclipse. And I gave him one of my cameras to utilize and hopefully pursue and get a really cool photo. Maybe sell it or something, I don't know, but just pursue a passion. And it's pretty cool looking at this situation, this scenario, and thinking about in our marriage, in all relationships, how are you supporting others in their passions? How are you helping push people and encourage people, but not just with your words, with your actions, supporting them along the way to try and get to where they're trying to go?
Yeah, it also makes me think about the story that you've told a few times and that we've had conversations about with the teacher doing the math problems on the board.
Oh, yeah.
And got 10 or 9 of them correct, but then did one wrong on purpose. And how the class first noticed the 1 out of the 10 that was wrong instead of the 9 that were correct. He got 9 of them correct. Obviously, he did this on purpose, but thinking about that related to this, where we're always noticing the things that people are doing wrong and pointing those things out instead of encouraging them in the things they're doing right and in their passions that they're pursuing. Are you noticing when people are messing up? Because when you start a new thing, you're going to mess up. If you're new at it, you're going to mess up. It's not going to be perfect. And how often are we encouraging people through those mistakes and trials and screw-ups and lifting them up instead of bringing them down?
Yeah, you're going to suck. Anything you do at first, you're going to suck. I mean, you have the prodigies and you have the beginner's luck situations, but for the most part, compared to where they will get to, they're going to suck at whatever it is. I've been day trading and totally sucking. That's okay. Trying to practice, keep on practicing, keep on refining. But it's in the sucking and in those points of what you would call a failure that you're learning and growing. Because we don't actually learn very much. We will learn a little bit whenever we succeed, whenever we win. But we learn a lot when we lose. But it's on the reflection of the loss. It's not just losing, saying, man, I lose, I suck, and walk away. It's on the reflection on why did you lose? Taking note and taking part and journaling in some form or fashion, however you define journaling, why what happened.
Well, and we're teaching our kids this as they're starting to get into sports and trying new things. It's really hard for them because our oldest, he's starting baseball and he's told us many times, I suck. We're like, well, you're starting. It's new. It's okay. It's like anything in life. You got to suck it first and then it gets better.
Yeah, we were practicing catching, and then I was just holding the bat, and I throw the ball in the air and just hit it with the bat. And he kept trying and kept trying and kept trying. He threw his arms in the air, and I suck at this. I can't do this. And so we calmed him down, and he got to where he's finally connected one and then got the rhythm and started connecting them quite a bit. And then I asked him, do you still suck? He said, no. I said, you don't suck anymore because you practiced. You've got to get through the suck at first, and that's what most people don't want to do when they try something new. So they don't try new things. They don't want their ego and the egoic side of nature to kick them around and say, you suck, and let the world see how bad you suck at this.
Well, and in our relationships, how often are we trying things when you get in a rut, when you get in the normalcy of life where you're doing the same thing over and over again and you get bored, or you're struggling in your relationship and you're like, oh, okay, let's go on a date. And you finally go on a date and then you're like, it didn't fix anything. Well, it probably sucked. Maybe you probably had nothing to talk about if you were like sitting there awkwardly at dinner, or what you should not have been doing, been on your phones, maybe, if you didn't know what to talk about. But
Most people are on their phones.
yeah, we don't allow phones on date night. Yeah. But in your relationship, if you're trying to mend the relationship, if you're not in a great space, do you just try one therapy session? Do you just try one date night? No. It's the consistency of trying to make it better that relates to the relationship in this aspect, that it takes time. It's going to suck at first when you're trying to repair something. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be fluid. It takes repetition of, first of all, showing up, the accountability of, this is important to me and I'm going to keep doing this. And just putting yourself out there and doing new things and trying new things together as a couple, which you will also probably suck at, but learning together.
Yep. It's that consistency that you learn those ABCs. You learn the simple mechanics of whatever you're trying to do. And as you're learning those mechanics, you're going to just kind of suck at it at first because it's awkward. It's weird. It's like throwing a ball for the first time. It's like swimming for laps in a pool for the first time. It's trying to do things. I mean, how many of us fell on our bike when we tried the first time?
No, not me. Just kidding.
Other than Michaela, how many of us have fallen on our bike the first time? I didn't fall. I had training wheels.
I mean, didn't Bingham? Bingham did it. Bingham did real good.
He fell on striders many times before.
Well, that's true.
I didn't fall. I had training wheels.
There you go. Fact.
But I had training wheels on to learn the mechanics.
Yep.
So we had this situation last week at the gym.
Yeah.
And Michaela has decided she doesn't want to be a weakling anymore.
No, I want a big butt. That's where we're at.
She wants a big butt.
Yep.
By way of a strong butt.
Yes.
Not just a big butt.
Correct. Muscular. Muscles. All the muscles.
And so Michaela has been actively in the gym for 7 years.
7 years, yeah.
Something like that.
In between little pauses for
babies.
And
recovery. And Michaela has been doing more or less the same weight.
Yeah.
Since 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe 6 years ago. You spent like a year and grew and then stalled out. You plateaued because it was heavy.
Yep.
And then we had this conversation some time ago, and I don't even know what triggered the conversation. And I was just telling you, dude, it's heavy. This weight is heavy. That weight's heavy. This weight's heavy. That weight's heavy. It's all heavy. But that doesn't mean you can't pull it. Just because it's heavy doesn't mean you can't do it. And that changed a lot for you.
It was massive. I had to change that, what we call limiting belief that I had, that how it really went was 40 pounds is always going to be heavy. And I was like, I'm waiting for this 40 pounds to feel lighter, for me to get strong enough that this 40 pounds feels lighter before I move up in weight. And you said, it doesn't work that way. You're like, 40 is always going to be heavy, but 100 is always going to be heavy too. They're just different. But the 40 is never going to get lighter. Yes, you get stronger, but it's always going to feel heavy. And that was just like mind blown. Oh my goodness. I can't believe I didn't know this. I didn't even think about it that way. And ever since, I have been crushing limiting beliefs at the gym. And it's been really exciting to actually see what I'm capable of in this progress of I've made a lot of progress in the past 4 months.
Yep. So 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, a few weeks ago, Michaela chose to do rack pulls on a deadlift day. And she pulled 95 pounds. She put 25-pound plates on each side. Like, I can go heavier. That's about where she would ever stop. And then put on 35s, did it. Put on 45s, did it. Put 45s and a 10, did it. And was basically saying, I'm done. And when she would pull it, it would come right off the bar. It wouldn't even hesitate. So we put on a 45 and a 35, which is, we put on a 45 and a 25, 185, yep. 185 pounds, which is 40 pounds over body weight. And she went to pull it, and lo and behold, it didn't move.
Didn't move at all.
It didn't budge. But she just tried to pull, and the fact that it didn't move instantly told her, you can't move this. And so now she finally starting to hit weight where, wow, you put energy in, it doesn't move at first. You keep putting energy in, it will move. So I said, you need to keep pulling. You can't just pull on it, doesn't move, give up. You've got to keep pulling on the weight. So she grabbed in, she locked in, did the same mechanics she knows how to do because she's done them thousands of times at this point. And lo and behold, she pulls and pulls and pulls, and the weight starts to move, and she stands it up.
Yep.
Crushed. She walked into that day having never pulled greater than about a 100-pound barbell and pulled a 185-pound barbell. Pretty cool. Fast forward a week. We decide to do what's known as a goblet squat on a belt squat platform, kind of modifying some things because she'd done messed herself up by dislocating her shoulder from stretching.
Yeah.
So we were protecting that. It was all healthy, all safe, and all recovered, but just a little nervous. And we load the weight on, and she does just the rack, 60 pounds. And we start loading weight on, loading weight on, loading weight on. And she does a full goblet squat, full depth, 228 pounds. Boom.
Yep.
Destroyed the 185 rack pull, which is not as deep of a pull. And it starts at the bottom, whereas this one starts at the top. And then fast forward a week. This last weekend, we're doing rack pulls again. Michaela decides to do a rack pull. And what happened?
Well, you decided to throw some extra weights on there. And I was like, well, okay, if you're going to do it, I'm going to do it, which probably isn't the best mindset to have when you weigh a little bit more than me. But, I was like, all right, well, let's do it. And I got in, and first time I did it, set wrong, and I set up wrong, and you corrected me and said walk away and come back. And so I did it and banged out 225.
So in my brain fart, in my stupor, I forgot that her max rack pull was 185. And just my natural, I jump at 45s per set. So I just threw on the second set of 45s because she had already pulled 228. In my brain, she could just do this. And she looked at me and said, let's do this. Excited. And as she said, she set up wrong. What she means by that is literally every piece of the mechanical movement that you can do on a rack pull, she jacked up.
Yeah.
She messed that up. She moved her hands in a different position. She put her feet in a different position. She put her back in a different position. Everything was in a different position. Therefore, she has never pulled in this situation. And I saw it. I tried to tell her. She had her headphones way too loud. So she tried to pull it, and lo and behold, she couldn't move it. And so I informed her, yo, dude, your hands are 2 inches wider per hand. Your legs are wider. Your back is flatter or lower. Everything's wrong about the situation. You know the mechanics of this. You need to correct the mechanics. You will never pull with new mechanics because it's a completely different movement. And we started talking about that exact thing in life. How often do we set goals? We're like, oh yeah, I can do this. And then there's a piece of you that doesn't believe you can do it. Like you're just trying to get after it and trying to force the situation. But there's a piece of you like, I probably can't do this. I don't know if I can do it. And so you go into the situation like Michaela did with this rack pull, and you change everything because it's a big deal. It's scary. It's a new big goal. So you change every piece of what you already know, ensuring that you don't hit it, which is a validation of the limiting belief and self-sabotage.
Crushing all of these limiting beliefs in the gym has been really cool and honestly got us thinking about what limiting beliefs do you have in your relationship? What have you just gone into your relationship and said, this is just how it is? Maybe it's how your parents were, or maybe it's the opposite. You wanted it to be exactly the opposite of how your parents' relationship was. But analyzing what your limiting beliefs are and what your thoughts are around marriage, around relationships, around what a wife should be, around what a husband should be, and really sitting back and looking at that and saying to yourself, do these beliefs serve me in my relationship right now? Are they positive? Are they resourceful? Are they encouraging our relationship to grow and become better each and every day? Or are these limiting beliefs in my marriage causing a negative outcome?
We have these situations in life. And when she says negative or unresourceful limiting belief within your relationship, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It's just your relationship. It's not right. What if your relationship, you have this limiting belief that you can't eat out of restaurants as a family because you need to save money? What if it's we must have every toy picked up all the time because my house has to be perfect for people to accept me? What if it's anything up that line? Those situations are neither good nor bad. They're just neutral. But for your situation, maybe you grew up in a household where you had to have everything perfect, everything put away all the time. So that's just something that you believe. But that takes a lot of energy. And there's the right place and the right time in life when that's, I would go as far as to say that's appropriate. We try really hard to pick up all the toys every day. We're not perfect. Or we might pick them up on the main floor, but the basement and the upstairs isn't.
Yep.
Maybe there's a strain in your relationship because you're trying to uphold some thought pattern, some program to which has been embedded in your mind. But in your relationship, it's different. Because this is not the relationship you grew up with your parents. That's your parents' relationship. This is your relationship. And recognizing that these limiting beliefs in your relationship, we can't do fun things on date night. We can't be kids because we're adults. Whatever it might be, let loose a little bit. Try new things. Have fun. Yeah, you're gonna suck at it. If you try and go have fun and do something goofy, go to the arcade and go play with all the kids. Like, go to your local arcade, whatever it is, and be the only adults in there with no kids.
Go to a trampoline park.
Go to a trampoline park. You're going to find out really fast. Most parents are sitting on the side. There's a couple of parents bounce with their kids. Go there with no kids.
Yep.
You're going to probably suck at it at first. You're going to be awkward. You're not going to know how to behave. That's okay. Whatever your belief is, start challenging it. Asking why. Why do we believe that we have to do it this way? Who told you? Who trained you? Because somebody trained you somewhere along the line. Whether it be a movie, a friend, a family member, a parent, a colleague, whatever. Somebody taught you this is how you're supposed to do it.
Well, and sit down with your partner and go over your roles of what you think the wife should do, what you think the husband should do. And I bet you, if you haven't had these conversations, you guys are going to sit down and write these roles out of what you think each partner should be doing in the relationship. And I bet you they're not going to line up. If you're not having the communication on a regular basis, talking about that, realizing that everybody comes from a different background. Everybody comes from a different family where in some relationships, the wife is going to be doing the dishes and the cooking and the laundry, and the husband's going to be providing and protecting and doing all these other things. But that's not in every relationship. You've got to figure out, sometimes in our relationship, Brad's the cook. I do not cook. We established that from the beginning.
She blows.
Yeah, I am not great at cooking.
Nor does she want to.
Nor do I want to.
Therefore, she'll never get past the suck phase.
Yeah.
It's fine.
That's okay.
Because that's not right for our situation.
Nope. But sit down and talk about and write out your beliefs around what your marriage should look like, what you think it should look like, or what it has looked like to this point, and then change it if it's not how you want it to be. It is not one way fits all. Sit down and say, you know what? I don't love this thing that we've been doing, or this is not how I want it to go anymore. I want to change up our relationship. I want to change up our routine or how we do things because it's just not suiting where we're at right now. And that's okay. You can change things, and you're going to suck at first, and it's not going to be easy, but it will help. It will help to have the conversations to understand what works for your relationship and to smash those limiting beliefs around what you think it should look like and just go after what you want it to look like.
Yeah. And I'll close off with this question. What needs to happen to go from the level you're at to the next level? If you're in a good relationship, what needs to happen to go to better or best? If you're at best, what needs to happen to get to bestest? And just keep on ESTs. Just keep adding them. What needs to happen in your relationship and in your life to get to the next spot? That's all I got.
We love you guys.
You can find me on socials, Mr. Brad Draper.
And Draper choosing us.
Like the thing, subscribe to it, download it for future listenings. Until next week, we love you guys. Bye.